Lee Whitaker.
Dan Hendriksen.
We are in the desert.
And it is hot.
It's hot.
In the desert.
And we're on the range here at the Aramco series. They're playing the International Ladies event.
Yep.
So the individual of the two events that we're up here for. And Georgia Hall is literally just playing the 18, just there. But we have something very important to do other than just watching golf, don't we?
We have, yeah.
What have you got in your hands, Lee?
So I have got the sub 70, so direct to consumer irons, the 699 Pros.
Now, I've got to say, I don't know a great deal about this company. I've seen them kind of out on the market a little bit, but I've not done a great deal with them. I've never hit them. So this is going to be quite an interesting video, because ultimately these are price-wise very reasonable. We'll get onto that later on in the video, but yeah, I can see why a lot of people wanted us to do this review. And you have a little bit more information for us, don't you, on these?
I do, yes. So these are players' distance irons.
So compare them to something for us.
Let's put them up against, it's P790.
The TaylorMade P790 as an option that would be similar to these.
100%.
Any others?
T200.
Titleist T200.
Yeah. So it's in that, they call it the player's distance iron. It's around, this is a 31 degree 7 iron. The TaylorMade is 30.5. So the information I'm going to tell you about this is very similar to what you will hear from the P790. So we're putting it in that bracket when it comes to iron category.
So on that then, tell us a bit more about these actual heads. I mean, what's the design like? What's lofts? We'd like to hear it all, really.
Okay, so it's a modern head design, which is what they're saying. So there's a 699 and the 699 Pro, so this is more of a modern head design. It is a hollow body design,
yeah,
similar to the P790, and it's got a TPE injected face. Speed foam injected. Okay. You know, things you've heard before, so it's no different. It literally is sub 70's version of a P790 in my opinion.
Right. So what's the idea of this TPE injected face then?
So it's a little bit of acoustics, because it's a hollow body design. It also aids the acoustics of it, and I suppose it's there a little bit to give it a little bit of a trampoline effect off the face, we could call it. They call it, TaylorMade call it speed foam for a reason, so it's designed to probably just give you a little bit more ball speed. These are mid to low launch clubs, whereas you go to the 699 is a mid launch club. So these are definitely a player's iron, but with that little bit of extra distance compared to what a traditional loft would be.
So while Lee warms up behind us, we're going to hit the 7-iron, the pitching wedge and the 5-iron for you. Those are the clubs that we've brought out here to Saudi Arabia with us. We've also got the Mevo Plus machine with us as well, so we're going to be able to hit and get some numbers and report that to you. So let's head back to Lee, hit some balls and give you some numbers on these clubs. So pitching wedge to sort of kick us off then, Lee.
Yep.
First impressions looking down at the pitching wedge, how's it look to you?
It looks okay. I like, it's not too long in the blade length, which is something that I can kind of, these players' distance irons can extend a little bit. The top line looks thin, but it's actually quite thick. And they're copying a little bit what the other brands are doing, where they're doing a difference in change of colour. So you've got like a satin finish that stops halfway along and then it bevels off.
Yeah.
And what that does is it gives you the look of it being a thinner top line, but with the forgiveness of it actually being a lot thicker than it is. To be honest, Dan, it looks like any other iron.
Do you think this club could blend into a nice set of, you know, players kind of wedges?
Yeah.
Performance wedges?
Yeah, there's no reason why not.
Yeah, so it's a small enough blade, because sometimes the wedge can start to get a little bit chunky, can't it?
No, it is definitely small enough. It's not got this massive high toe, so it is a little bit pairy to what I've seen before.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, I've not seen this iron before. But for looks wise, it could certainly blend into a specialist wedge. There's no reason why not. It's not offensively different to what a specialist wedge would look like.
So one thing I need to say about these clubs, these have been spec'd up for me personally. Sub 70 have set them up at 2 degrees flat, they've put a KBS stiff shaft in it, and they've put my standard 1 extra layer of grip tape underneath the actual Tour velvet grip. So we've got it as good as we can get it to get the numbers as precise as possible. First impressions looking down at the 7-iron that I have in my hand is very similar to what Lee says. I fully understand with what he means by the look of the kind of TaylorMade P790 irons. It gives me that feel instantly when I pick it up, but the big noticeable difference is the pear shape. It's very, very different to lots of other irons that I've reviewed in the past. It's not as square looking, it's very rounded at the bottom as well. When you look down at that leading edge, it's very rounded from heel round to the center and then back down to the toe, which actually, for someone like me trying to dig one out from this really tight turf on this surface, is quite a nice thought. For those that struggle to get the ball maybe up in the air, again, that leading edge is probably going to give you a little bit of confidence just to pop it in the air for you, which is, well, I think, a good thing.
But how do they feel, Dan?
Well, I mean, pretty impressive actually. I don't know, when Lee said to me about the price on these clubs, I've always been a little bit skeptical when it comes to price. When you start dropping the price of irons, and we'll come to that in a moment, but when you start dropping the price of irons, sometimes you lose that sort of quality in the product. Not with this. This absolutely feels superb off the face. I mean, I'd actually say to the fact that I think I prefer the sound and the feel of this compared to even the Titleist T200 that I've tested in that range, and I preferred the Titleist T200 over the P790 when they tested that as well. So all in all, first impressions, sound off the face, fantastic, feel off the face, soft and almost like spongy feel. Blade length. Now I use the Titleist MB irons and I like a kind of squat looking iron when I look down at it. This one is a little bit in the longer side, but for me personally that doesn't necessarily work. But for a lot of players out there, there is plenty of real estate down at the ball when you look down at it, which is going to give you, well, plenty of confidence, which ultimately that's what this club is kind of trying to do. Sounds just as good when I listen to it from when you're hitting compared to when I've hit it.
They feel phenomenal. Like, sometimes this type of hollow body can sound and feel a bit clicky.
Yeah, tinny.
This just, it feels forged. It's the only compliment I can give it, is it feels like a completely forged iron. But there is one big thing that's kind of upsetting me, and when you look down at this 5 will probably upset you, because I know you're a big fan of it, and it's offset. For me, it's too offset. But for the standard of iron, the type of iron it is, it's ideal, if that makes sense, if you know what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
There is quite a bit of offset on this 5 iron, but the person who's going to play this is probably going to want that.
Yeah.
Sounds so good.
I mean, it flies. This 5 iron literally flies like my old 3 iron, because I don't carry a 3 iron anymore, but it literally flies like that. I'm not struggling to get it in the air. But when I was a bit younger, I used to be able to hit a 3 iron, and this now is giving that sort of vision. As I hit this shot, it really pings off the face, and we haven't looked at the numbers yet, but when we look at the numbers, I'm imagining that this is going to go pretty much the distance of what my old 3 iron used to go. So on that note, let's look at some numbers. Pitch and wedge numbers for you to start with then, Lee.
Yeah.
Average carry 117, one down there at 105, but look at those, 127. Is your kind of highest one that you've got carry-wise?
A normal pitch and wedge for me is 125, so it's there or thereabouts. I'm not making excuses, but I'm struggling a little bit with the length and the smaller grip, so it's more difficult for me. But when I got it, it's going the distance I would expect it to go. The spin is a little bit...
It's a bit jumpy.
Yeah.
But that is... I think this is a good thing when we're testing these out on a proper range.
Yeah. You're
going to get these jumping around on the golf course. It's going to happen.
Yeah,
you know, when you
dependent.
exactly right. When you get a little bit of grass or a little bit of mud between club face and ball, it's going to make a difference to the spin numbers as you come down through there. So on an average 7.3 in the spin, which is a little on the low side, but you do have one up there at 10,000.
Yeah.
So that's about kind of 8 to 9
8 to 9 is what I would
kind
expect.
Of, exactly. We've got one down there at
this
8.6.
for me, 122, 8.6 spin is where I'd expect a pitching wedge to be.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on, we go to 7 iron.
Yeah.
Average carry 168. How do you normally carry a 7-iron?
About 175.
Okay.
But these were predominantly a bit more spin. I mean, this one's come out a low spin, but more spin than I would normally expect from a 7-iron. I'm more of a 6 to 6.5 spin player.
Which is a bit of a surprise, because ultimately this club is 31 degrees in loft.
Yeah.
So I would expect the spin actually to be a little bit lower than what we're getting right here with this.
Yeah, but the difference is spec, isn't it? You know, that's a stiff shaft. I'm X-stiff with, you know, I'm low spin shaft player for a reason. So I would expect that to jump on.
And actually saying that, it actually just highlights how important it is to get fitted. These are fitted for me personally, so these hopefully my numbers will be a bit more ideal for what we're looking at for this test, but it's good for you to test them as well. Now the 5-iron then, 177 on average, but you've got one in there at 150, but you've got 195, 189, 179, 172 as well. So some pretty good numbers from that. How did it go for you?
It feels fantastic. This 189, 195 is more an idea of what I would hit a 5-iron.
Yeah.
It's going the distance. It's not flying. I'm not getting a fly or anything like that.
Yeah.
A decent strike is rewarded with the yardage I would expect.
But again, you talked about the spin in the 7-iron, high spin. We're getting 6,900 spin in a 5-iron.
Yeah, this is what these numbers 177, 69 spin is effectively what I would get with a 7-iron.
Right. Okay. So that's about Okay. Okay. Should we move on to my numbers?
Let's do it. So your numbers with pitch and wedge then, Dan?
Yeah. So we've actually got 4 shots here, because there was one which we think is a small blip in the actual device that we're using. So we've wiped that one off. So we've got 4 shots that we're going with. 128 average carry for me. My pitch and wedge normally goes about 125, 122 to 125, so 128 is strong, but good. 9,500 in the spin.
Great spin.
It's pretty much there or thereabouts. I would say it's pretty much spot on to what you'd want with these numbers. If we then move into the 7-iron, 166 average carry with a 7-iron. So I'm probably gaining, well, I've gained about 5 or 6 yards with my pitch and wedge.
Yeah.
This pitch and wedge we're using. And I'm gaining 5 or 6 yards with this 7-iron compared to my 7-iron, so it's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
What is impressive is an average of 7.2 in the spin.
It's a good spin.
I mean, that for a strong lofted 7-iron compared to my 7-iron, that is actually spinning pretty much where my current 7-iron would be.
Yeah, because these hollow body designs, strong loft, can have a tendency to come out low spinning and just go for miles.
Absolutely, but
so that's
if you
really
look if you look at the dispersion between mine, you know, 161 to 170.
It's not bad.
It's not bad from, you know, with 5 shots from off the turf. You know, that's not a bad. I would expect to see that in 5 7-irons on the golf course. I'm going to jump between 10 yards, aren't I, from front to back of the green a lot of the time. So all in all, pretty good. If we then go into the 5-iron, which I think this is going to perform like my 3-iron, which is what I said, it's an average of 191. However, the last 3 shots that I got, now 191 is my current 4-iron, but last 3 shots that I hit, 201, 202, 202.
Yeah.
I mean, it just went.
You caught them really well. That top one, again, I think is possibly a misread at 10,000 spin. It's not happening with a 5-iron.
No, absolutely right.
But all in all, that's probably 3.5 iron for you distance, isn't it?
And again, you look at that top one at 10,000 spin. I mean, that's not likely to be. That is going to be a misread based on what we're seeing here. But the rest of them, 4.9, 4.7, 4.7, and 4.3. I mean, you could probably average that out around 4,500
and the
reps.
standard deviation would be quite tight.
It would be very tight. But I think, all in all, I think the performance on that 5-iron is probably as close to my 4-stroke 3-iron. You know, it's flighting out there.
That strong 4-iron you had in your bag for a while, isn't it?
Absolutely. So if you look at where we're at from my numbers, I mean, I'm 4, 5, 6 yards up on each club compared to my own set. So all in all, from what I'm getting, and these are fitted for me, pretty good.
Yeah, definitely.
What does direct to consumer even mean for some people out there?
So direct to consumer literally means what it says. So you won't find these in my fitting studio, in your fitting studio, in your local pros fitting studio. The idea of this is it cuts out the middleman. So there's no wholesale price, retail price. It's this is our price and the consumer pays it, and you order it from the website. There's a few upsides and there's a few downsides to that. So what you can do with this, let's talk price first. So 4 to pitch and wedge is $595, which is under £500 sterling.
Wow.
So that's pretty cheap. when it comes to this type of iron and this how good this iron is. It does go up in price as you fit yourself. So you go on the website and you put your specs in, lofts, lies, you can choose shafts from KBS, True Temper, Nippon Modus. There's all them options available. There are some upcharges when it comes to some of the shafts, but we're talking like $100, $150 for the set, not per club. So even with that upcharge, you're looking at $700 probably maximum. So if you're fitted and you know your specs like you do, like I do, I could go on the website, I could order my spec, my shaft in the head with all the lofts and lies that I need, and it would come to me delivered for around $700, $750. You're talking £650. The downside to that is if you don't know your specs, there are what's called like a fitting system. So you can put your height, your wrist to floor measurements in, your swing speed for driver and irons, and it will suggest a fitting for you. So I went on the website and did that, and to be fair, it was pretty close. It said that I need to be half an inch longer, which I am. It said I need to be X-Flex, which I am, but it did say that in accordance with my measurements I need to be 3 degrees upright. I'm a 1 degree flat player, so if I ordered that and it came 3 degrees upright, that's 4 degrees upright more than I'm used to, so that's me pulling it left. I suppose once they turn up I could get it bent, that is an option, but it's just something to be mindful of if you do the fitting system on the site, is they may not be perfectly spec'd for you, but if you know your specs, you can pick up a great set of irons at a fraction, possibly even half of the price that you would for a big name brand.
So ultimately what Lee is kind of saying there is you're going to get a static fit. You're going to put your static fit measurements into their website to get an idea of what clubs you should be using. Now, that's kind of like a bit of an old school way of doing it. You used to go to your old pro, he'd static measure you. We never used to have the equipment that we've got now to sort of get the full detailed measurements that we kind of need. So with that in mind, my suggestion would be that by all means go on their website, order it through that option, but try and get a fitting if you possibly can from your local pro, your local golf shop. Get in and see someone to make sure that when you put in your fitting numbers that they are absolutely spot on for your game. So final verdict then, Lee.
Really impressed, Dan. Really impressed. Impressed by the price, but I'm impressed with the quality of the product compared to the price. There's no reason why someone who is looking at this type of player's distance iron, if you need to save a little bit of money, there's options out there, and this is as good an option as any, really, as far as I'm concerned.
Would you play them?
Not personally, but sub 70 have a vast array of irons, so there may be an iron that suits me better, suits you better. Personally wouldn't play them, but 18 months ago when I had P790s, I would have definitely played these. What about you, Dan? What do you think?
Well, Lee, I, just like you, am very, very impressed with these irons. I mean, visually, are they right for me personally? Probably not. I like the thinner top line, I like the bladey kind of look, but it doesn't matter. When I started hitting them, I kind of lost track of what I was thinking about when I was, thinking about the looks of them. I was so impressed with the feel and the flight that I was getting from them. I was impressed with the yardages that I was getting from them. I was impressed with the spin that I was getting from them. That the looks kind of just went out the window. I just started hitting balls. Impressed with the price. I mean, you can't argue with the price. It kind of just works, doesn't it? For so many people out there, they've been asking me to review these products for some time now, and I kind of understand why. There's lots of people out there that don't want to spend massive amounts of money with the top brands, shall we say, that you see every day on tour. They want to sort of find a set of gloves that work within their budget but perform as good as the bigger brands, and I think we've kind of just found a set that really ticks all the boxes. So from my point of view, could I play them? Absolutely, I could play these irons. Would I play them? I think I probably wouldn't like the look of them over time, but I have to say they're a bit of a winner for me. Well, there you have it. There is our review of the Sub 70 699 Pro irons, and I think both Lee and I are very impressed with them. A big thank you to Sub70 for sending us those irons to test out. I think you've got onto an absolute winner with those irons. Don't forget, if you are new to the channel and you like what you're seeing from our videos, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and we'll see you all again very soon.